What's up, guys? Braden Barrett here with Look Like You Lift, and welcome to the Look Like You Lift 15 podcast, where you're going to learn how to look like you lift in 15 minutes. Today, I'm really honored to bring on a very special guest, Matt Reynolds, who is the founder of Barbell Logic. And I've known him actually for a long time. I've been following him for a long time. I actually got to meet him at a strength seminar in Colorado, and loved his philosophy when it came to strength training. I love what he's doing with Barbell Logic online coaching. And so super cool to bring him on today. So Matt, why don't you kind of go through who you are and what you do and what Barbell Logic is all about for people who don't really know what it is?
Sure. First off, thanks for having me on the show. So I'll get right to it. I was a very average athlete in high school growing up, loved playing sports, super competitive. As I got out of high school into college, wasn't good enough to play a college sport. Certainly wish I was. And, found weightlifting really my senior year of high school and got more into weightlifting and strength training. And at the time, I kind of waffled around for a couple of years in sort of the bodybuilding genre, knowing that I was never probably going to put on a pink thong bikini and sit on stage and tan myself up in oil and have a beauty pageant with other dudes. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And so, by the time I was 19 or 20, I discovered the sport of powerlifting, and which was essentially a sport at the time in college where I could eat as much pizza and drink beer and just lift heavy weights and get strong. I thought that sounded really fun. So I did that and got to be decent at it. I ended up totaling elite in 3 different weight classes, which is kind of the top level certification in powerlifting. In 2005, I turned my attention to strongman, started competing in strongman, and was better at strongman than anything else I'd ever done. I won my pro card in strongman in 2006 and competed on the pro world strongest man circuit from 2006 to 2009. The best I ever did there was I think I got 12th in the U.S. So I mean, you're talking about top 3 guys usually get into the world's strongest man. So I was strong, but I wasn't in that top 3 sort of level. And I wasn't huge. I mean, I was 6'1", and when I graduated high school, I was about 155, 160 pounds. And I pushed my body weight up to, 260, 270, 280, pushing 300, and realized at the time that I wasn't going to be able to compete with somebody like a Brian Shaw, who's 6'9" and 440. And so did the best I could at strongman for a while, but actually in the process really started honing my coaching skills and coached a lot in person, opened up a gym called Strong Gym, which at the time was the largest strength gym, privately owned strength gym in the United States. And we won a bunch of awards for that for several years from like Powerlifting Watch and some of the people that mattered at the time. And anyway, ended up selling that gym at the end of 2015 and started full-time online coaching. It was weird making the transition into online coaching because I wanted to be able to provide a high level of service and actually breaking down clients' videos. I wanted them to video themselves, not just provide programming or a template, but to actually do personalized programming and then actually have them video themselves on their phones. By 2016, 2015, that was available. The video quality was good enough that we could do that. And so really kind of pushed all my chips to the middle of the table on that. And that business has continued to grow. It's a multi-million-dollar business now. We've got a staff of maybe 85 or so, pushing close to 100. We've got over 1,000 clients. And the thing for us is we just focus on the basics. It's a focus on squats and deadlifts and bench presses and body weight movements and sustainable habit-based nutrition. And our coaches are incredible, but the thing that we really sort of cling to is the high level of service. And so that's what we do at Barbell Logic. It's this focus on the basics. We have our own software at this point and provide personalized programming to everybody. We break down your videos within 24 hours, so you video yourself. And so it's gone great. I love it. I love I love to coach. I still love coaching, but at this point, I love being a CEO of a business even more and kind of leading a team of unbelievable people. So,
right.
So that's what I do.
Working on the business as opposed to working in the business. Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
That's awesome.
That's right.
So quick off tangent. Do you happen to know Van Hatfield?
Yeah. I actually won his show. That was where I won my pro card, was in Salt Lake in 2006. Brian Shaw and I actually were the 2 pros that year that won at America's Strongest Man. So it was Van's show. So I did a show. My first pro-am was in Tulsa. It was called the World Strongman Challenge. Mm-hmm. Zadrunas was there and Derek Poundstone. And actually it was Poundstone's kind of coming out party. And I did well. I took second. I was leading the show for most of the day, and then I got to a Conan's wheel, and I had never done a Conan's wheel. It's one, you think about it, a Conan's wheel is one of those, like, it's a 20-foot long pole, and it's got 700 pounds in the crooks of your arm, and like some people actually have those, but I didn't have anything like that. Like, how do you train with that? And so, I got my butt beat on that event and ended up taking second. But Van came up to me and said, "Hey, next month is the other pro-am for the year." There were only 2 at the time. And he said, "You got a super strong back." I was deadlifting, low to mid 700s at the time as a relatively lightweight, as a 231, 105K lifter. And he said, "I think you can win the show because it's made for you." And so went to Salt Lake City, was broke, was a public school teacher at the time, and told my wife, like, "Please let me go do this. And if I don't win my pro card, I'll quit this sport forever." And I did so well at Van's show in Salt Lake City that I only had to load 1 stone for the final event. I had to just knock 0, and I was going to win. So I was excited. I was able to call my family before the stones. I was like, "I'm going to win this thing." So but it was kind of lonely. When I finally won my pro card, we were so poor that nobody could be there. And so I won my pro card at Van's show, and then I just sort of celebrated by myself. It was great though. That night they invited me out. All the pros went to Van's house. He's got this like beautiful like fire pit at his house, and I sat around with Zydrunas Savickas and Vasily Vereshchuk and Kevin Nee and Jesse Marundi, who's been dead for years now, like those guys. And they sat around a campfire and passed around bottles of like 151, or like they would just drink out of the bottle and they'd pass it to the next guy. And you're talking about all these guys that weigh like 330 pounds, 350 pounds, 6'6", and they would pass. And here's little me at 105K, 231, try to keep up. And I'm like, just don't throw up on these other, like, on my heroes. I mean, it was basically like sitting around a campfire with what would have been like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird for me. So it was really cool.
That's super cool. Yeah, Van's a great guy. He took me under his wing and coached me for a few years while I was doing strongman as well. So
yeah,
super great guy. Well, cool. So Matt, I wanted to bring you on here because what I've noticed with Barbell Logic and your approach to strength training is, you work with people who not only want to be strong and train pain-free and work on longevity, but also getting them to look better. And I think right now in the fitness industry, there's kind of a divide where, if you want to work on aesthetics, then you need to be doing all of these weird programs with machines and ropes and cables and things like that. Yeah. But what you're accomplishing is essentially through strength training, they're looking better. So can you kind of explain why strength training is so beneficial for people who want to not only look good naked, but look good in their clothes as well?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because, and I think this, I've recently lost about 50 pounds, and part of that was in the process of being a professional strongman. You spend a ton of time trying to drive your weight up, and then I get to the point I'm 42, pushing 43, and it's like, boy, I don't need to weigh 300 pounds anymore, and I'm running this fitness company. I'm the CEO of this company, and I need to not. I look like I lift, but I looked like I lifted, but I was pushing 300 pounds and I had a waist at 48, 49 inches, and it was like not healthy. And so for me, really in November or so of 2020, kind of post COVID, I was like, look, I've got to make some changes and actually push for health and aesthetics. It's okay. I don't want to lose performance. And so for me, the strength training piece was the way you train to get the greatest return on investment. So, you train the most muscle mass and with the most weight and over these, great ranges of motion with lots of joints, and it's going to build the most muscle, or it's going to preserve the most muscle if you're dieting. And so the style of training I didn't change a whole lot outside of the fact that I would start to add in maybe 15 minutes to 20 minutes max of really hard push accessory circuits at the end of my workouts. I was doing a 4-day split, 2 upper, 2 lower days. At the end of my lower days, I would do I got a glute ham raise and a reverse hyper and a leg press and a leg extension, and leg curl and a Rogue Echo bike. And I would just hammer through those in a 15, 20-minute session and just get like this huge kind of fatiguing pump at the end of my squats and deadlifts, but I still squatted and deadlifted heavy. And same thing on upper body. I would bench and press, and then I would do a bunch of, one day I would do body weight stuff. I would do, chins or pull-ups and dips and barbell curls. And another day I would go out and do like lat pull downs and tricep push downs or rolling dumbbell extensions and things like that. And I I would just sort of finish exhausting the muscles with that hypertrophy piece. I think fatigue is a large part of it, but it doesn't come without the big bang lifts. And so you couldn't really get to the right amount of exhaustion or the right amount of stress without the heavy squats and the heavy deadlifts and the heavy bench and the heavy press. So I stuck with that all along. And really the changes I made that took me from a 300-pound 42-year-old guy to a 250-pound 42-year-old guy that lost, 11 inches off my waist was that I just locked down the nutrition. I don't eat like a bodybuilder. I don't want to eat like a bodybuilder. I just eat I'm very intentional about the way I eat. I track what I eat. I like to gamify the thing. I still drink a little alcohol, or I still might have a little bit of like, some custard or some frozen yogurt at night, but I've got the room to do it. And so it was just about being like really cognizant of the amount of calories I was taking in, the amount of protein I was taking in. And then the last couple pieces, I was thinking about this in prep for this show, that I don't want to act like those big lifts are the most important thing. Like doing the squats, doing the deadlifts, doing the heavy presses, in heavy, sets of 5 or less, I think they work incredibly well. That's like 75%, 80% of the way there. And then you have to start locking in, okay, do I need to do a little more work in the weight room for the fatigue to kind of drive up the amount of hypertrophy that I kind of maximize hypertrophy? What do I have to do to lock in the nutrition? For us, we take kind of a triage approach. We look at what people are eating and we say, like, where's the thing that we can fix that's going to make the biggest return on investment? You're drinking a 6-pack of beer at night. Let's fix that first. You're eating fast food twice a day. Let's fix that first. Like whatever that thing is. And it's different for everybody. So I locked in the nutrition. And then I just got really active. I started doing just like walks around my neighborhood with my wife, like twice a week. I've got an Olympic pool across the street, and I would swim at the Olympic pool. I would just, things like that, like activity went up. And then here's the fourth piece that I think nobody or rarely people think about unless they're very almost aesthetically almost shallow based bodybuilders. But I think there's something to be taken from them, is that I ratcheted up the style work. I got a style coach. I started looking better, and I'm like, look, I've got to, like, yeah, I'm in a weird position because I'm a CEO and founder of a multi-million-dollar startup business, fitness business. Um, I I'm not going to wear 3-piece suit, which a lot of CEOs wear. I'm not in the right. It's the wrong industry. But I also don't want to wear ratty t-shirts, logo t-shirts, and baggy basketball shorts. And so to try to find like what the style needed to be for me, and it made a huge difference figuring out like, oh yeah, I can wear like fitted khaki shorts with a 5-inch inseam and a fitted polo, and like look, and white on white shoes, and look the part. And like now it fits my new body type and body style, but like I look like, oh, this guy looks like he's got his crap put together. He looks like the CEO of a business, but he's not dressed like a, in 3-piece suit. It wouldn't be right for the fitness industry. So for me, it was kind of that 4 parts of big, heavy compound lifts, locking in the nutrition, turning up the activity level, and not being crazy about the conditioning or the cardio or the HIIT, just mostly like being more cognizant of walking with my wife, or like doing more just like activity work during the day. And then figuring out how style fit in. I like I said, the style coach, I use a guy comes from a business called Masculine Style. He's great. And
Tanner, right?
Yeah, Tanner's awesome. And
he's coming on. He's going to be on our podcast next week.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, he's great. I mean, what I loved about Tanner was he didn't try to make me fit into a mold. He didn't try to make me look like him. He didn't try to make me look like somebody else. The first thing he figures out is like, where should your style be? What are you trying to convey? What is your kind of group or your tribe or your people? And let's figure out what works for you. Like, let's look at like your lifestyle, where you live, your geography, all those sort of things. And so it was like, I get to dress like me. People would look at me and be like, man, you look really good. It looks great. They wouldn't be like, oh, you look so different, or you don't, if I dressed like a hipster, it would come across wrong. Right. And so it was great it's been great using Tanner.
That's awesome. So you've broken it kind of into 4 steps of how to look like you lift. And I love that because you've kind of gone down the same, I've gone down the same journey as you, where when I quit strongman and Highland Games, I had to lose about 60 pounds, but at the same time, preserve as much strength as I possibly could on that journey. So I think a big thing that that really hits home with the strength training is the economics. Is,
Yep.
you're only training 4 days a week. You're only having to do, like, your workouts are only an hour. But you're getting more done than people who train 6 days a week, doing
That's right.
split training sessions and training each individual muscle at one time. So now that we've kind of covered the 4 steps, what would you say when it comes to nutrition, that I hate kind of like fitting the mold answers, like template answers, but what are some steps that we can implement with our nutrition to just kind of get us on the right track of getting the fat off while preserving as much muscle as we can?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first off, generally, like I said, one of the things that we're going to do, the reason I think the template thing doesn't work as well for people is that we have to figure out where you're at right now.
Right.
So the first thing we do with our nutrition clients is we have them do a what's called a visual food diary. They literally just take pictures of everything everything you eat, everything you drink. If you sneak a Reese's peanut butter cup or a Hershey's Kiss out of your desk drawer, take a picture of it. And no judgment there. We just want to see where people are at. And so that allows us to see what we need to triage first. That's what we're doing. It's just a series of triage, right? And so you figure out, like, where's the thing that you're doing that's making the greatest negative impact on your nutrition, on your performance, on your aesthetics. Like, those things are important, and we figure out how to deal with it. And a lot of times it's not like maybe you're drinking too much alcohol. Often our nutrition coaches, Jillian Ward, who is an incredible athlete, she set the all-time world record in powerlifting. She took third at the CrossFit Games 2008. She's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. She's amazing. She'd be great on the show, by the way.
She's done all.
Yeah, she's incredible. The thing is, for her, if you're drinking too much alcohol, she's not going to just remove the alcohol from your diet. Mm-hmm. She's going to make it sustainable, habit-based. Okay, like, you're drinking 6 drinks a day. Can we go to 3? And if you can't go to 3, you probably have an issue. You've got a problem. Right. So you triage first. And then for me, the other thing that I did that actually really kind of jump-started this, and this is kind of shameful plug, but she put together this thing that we have on the website at Barbell Logic called the 10-day nutrition challenge. It's 100% free. It doesn't cost anything. We don't ask you for your money, nothing. And it's really 10 really healthy habits. So you start with day one. Like, day one is you drink a bunch more water. I think you drink your body weight in pounds in ounces in water. So, if you weigh 200 pounds, you drink 200 ounces of water a day. And then day 2, you add a second habit, but you continue to do the day 1 habit. Mm-hmm. And I did that with my whole family, including my kids, my 16-year-old daughter, my 10-year-old daughter. But because all the habits are just really healthy, and not like, it wasn't like, hey, we're never going to eat sugar again, or we're never going to have a dessert, or we're going to like deprive. It wasn't deprivation. It was about trying to reset the balance of what correct eating and like a right relationship with food look like. And to me, that kind of started the process for me, and it really allowed me to stay focused in and honed in as time went on. I did that in March this year, and I've just continued to lose since then. And the thing with my nutrition is, not one time have I ever felt deprived. I've never really felt like I was dieting. I've cut my caloric intake tremendously, but then figuring out little things like how to eat more fiber and more vegetables and not feel, so I can feel full. That's made a huge difference. So I think for me and for most people, the long-term piece of this is it has to be sustainable and habit-based, one habit at a time. We don't play all of our cards. We make sure we keep some cards up our sleeve so that when we start to plateau, boom, I got another card to play. I think that's a really good strategy for nutrition.
So just like with strength training, it's a systematic approach of making one adjustment at a time.
Yeah, that's right. The programming we use, we've coined the term minimum effective dose changes. And so we make that minimum effective dose change for maximum return on investment. You figure out what's the smallest change you can make for the biggest bang for your buck. Do that first. And then when you conquer that habit, it starts to become a habit. You go to the next one. You continue with that one. You go to the next one. That works for both strength training programming and with nutrition. And so it's been, I think for us, again, it's about sustainability. And it's one of the differences, I think, with us in an online coaching world and a lot of the other businesses. We have our churn rate. We're about 1.8% churn per month. So we lose less than 2% per month of our clients, which is insanely low. Our clients, they're going to stay an average of 36 to 40 months. So this isn't, it's not somebody that's paying for a 10-week or 12-week template that they're going to be gone in 10 to 12 weeks. Like, we're doing this for the long haul. And I think that's really what it's all about. Otherwise, it is a diet. You're dieting. And there's nothing wrong with like, hey, I've got a vacation coming up. I want to like really look good for the vacation, but you just have to understand the way you're going to eat between now and the vacation is not long-term sustainable. And what we're trying to do, I think, in the weight room with nutrition, our relationship to food, activity, so on and so forth, has to be long-term sustainable for it to really work.
Right, because this is a lifestyle. It's not just a
That's right.
12-week challenge.
Yep.
So I want to talk more about expenditure. So we've covered strength training, we've covered nutrition. I want to talk about expenditure because, again, a lot of people who think that when they want to lose weight, they got to do hours of running or hit training. What do you find has been the most effective form um, I mean, you're doing your walks, so it's not really
Yeah.
like cardio per se, but like, what would you say
Yeah.
is kind of the most effective way to get more calorie burn in for
Yeah,
you?
I think that's actually honestly that's it for me. So the combination of the accessory work I do at the end of my main workouts, I do sort of hit based circuits.
Mhm.
So you're talking about, 10 to 20 minutes max, usually more like 10 to 15 minutes of high intensity cardio with accessory movements. So I do that at the end of my workouts. And then the other thing that's really helped is high frequency, low level, long, slow duration walking. I mean, I get up every morning. I get up early. Like I just naturally wake up like 4:30 or 5. My wife gets up about 7:15, 7:30. So I get up in the morning. I knock out my urgent work with online coaching in the business. And my wife texts me when she gets up at 7:15, 7:30. First thing we do is she puts on our walking shoes. She comes downstairs and we go for a walk. We go for a 20-minute walk. And I gamify everything on my Apple Watch, which again, it's going to work for some, not for others. I just like gaming it. And what I've noticed is, and then we do the same thing at night before we go to bed. Like after dinner, we do another walk. And one of the things that my nutrition coach Jillian taught me is if I can't go for a walk after dinner, I'm eating too much dinner.
Mm.
I'm too full and bloated. One of the greatest things about losing the weight I've lost is like I don't feel bloated all the time. When I was eating to gain weight constantly, I just felt bloated and miserable constantly. And so now I never feel that way. And my stomach is shrunk enough that it's just I don't eat enough to get really like sickly feeling. And so which is nice. So we go for a walk, we swim every afternoon. So we get out in the sun. I mean, some of that is again, some of that's maybe placebo. I think being in the sun is healthy for you. We go out in an hour every afternoon. It's beautiful outside. We go out and hang out at the pool and swim in the pool and activity levels up, but we're not focused on it. And so for us, it's that kind of low level fun activity, moving around, not being sedentary, and then being really intentional about it at the end of the workouts with the circuit stuff. So I think it's really easy to combine the accessory movements and the circuit work kind of into a hit style training at the end of your main workouts. You're talking about just punching it with 3 or 4 exercises on a circuit for 12 minutes at the end of your workout, and you get this great hypertrophy work, fatigue the muscles, and your heart gets a ton of training. And here's what's cool. I track my sleep every night. There's an app I use, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's called Auto Sleep. It attaches to my Apple Watch. I've watched my resting heart rate continue to come down doing that. It's the only thing I'm doing. I'm not going out and I'm not pushing the prowler right now, which is great. That's a phenomenal conditioning tool. I'm not doing the C2 rower. I'm just doing like the conditioning work at the end of my workouts and walking twice a day. And I keep watching my resting heart rate at night come down more and more and more every single night. So it's been really fun to watch.
That's awesome. Have you also noticed? I don't know if Auto Sleep does this. Are you able to track your recovery?
Yeah, so it gives you a there's a term they use, just sort of a readiness. I think it's a readiness scale. So
Mm.
how much your recovery is, and then it continues to keep your like sleep debt or sleep credit over a period, I think of a couple weeks. And so as you get more and more debt, your readiness is lower. And so you can track the how good is the recovery. It doesn't just track your sleep, it tracks quality sleep, deep sleep, heart rate, all those sort of things. And it's with the watch, it's sort of tracking both, I think, movement and heart rate. So if the heart rate's low and your movement's super still, it knows that you're in deep sleep. If you're, it's a little higher, or maybe it's quality sleep, but not. So it's been really interesting to game that stuff. By the way, the other thing for your listeners that I think has been really important that I think I forget to say a lot of times is I switched to a CPAP about 7, 8 years ago.
Thank
Life
you.
changer.
Thank you.
Life changer.
That's one of the first things that I have to implement because a lot of the guys that I work with, not only it goes in hand, they have high blood pressure, they're
Yep.
overweight, and they have sleep apnea.
Yep.
And the CPAP tackles all three of those things.
That's exactly right. Yep. That's a death warrant when you've got bad sleep apnea. You've got to get a CPAP. And it's so easy to get now. I mean, now they have sleep studies that you can do at home. You don't have to go like I did and put all the 100 nodes on your head. I can go to CPAP.com and go buy a CPAP with any, I've got concierge medicine, Teladoc will call it in and just get me one. And I just call one in and get it. So I've got travel CPAPs now I travel with. It's like the size of a deck of cards. I've got the stuff. I've got one at home. I've got another one at my cabin I just keep. And so I can't take a nap anymore without the CPAP. The quality of sleep, even on a 15 or 20-minute nap with the CPAP, is exponentially better than without it. So that was a life changer for me. And it takes a while to get used to. So for your listeners that either haven't done it or are still trying to get used to it, it takes some time. You just got to commit, say, I'm going to do it every single night until I get it. And then one day, once your body gets used to it, it's awesome. And it changes your life.
Yeah. I really appreciate you brought that up. I mean, we're different rant, but I don't think you should be prescribing a CPAP. I think everybody should just be able to get one. But
right,
that's a different conversation. So this is awesome. So you've really covered some incredible information that a lot of people can take from this to start getting in the right direction of not only like losing weight and getting stronger and looking like they lift, but without having to like suffer along the way and having to deprive yourself and starve yourself. So it's been awesome. So Matt, how's the best way that we can get in contact with you if we want more information on Barbell Logic coaching or moving forward with that?
Barbell Logic, super easy to find. And I'll say this, one things I tend to say on these podcasts is we put out a ton of super high quality content for 100% free, and it'll always be that way. We would love for your listeners to be part of the family at Barbell Logic Online Coaching and be a client, but I don't even want to push them that way right now. Just find our YouTube videos, find the podcast. We get the Barbell Logic podcast and the stuff that we do on social media and the articles and the ebooks. Like that stuff's all free. So it's barbelllogic.com. You can Google us and find anything. We're Barbell Logic or on Barbell_Logic. It's super easy to find on all the social media pieces as well. And then I'm at Reynolds Strong on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram and Twitter at this point. I don't even have a Facebook, but Barbell Logic does. And so, feel free to ask any question. We're always happy to answer questions. We also do a free, what we call the block experience, which is just kind of like a free taste of what we do. So if you ever want to see what it's like to be a Barbell Logic client and have absolutely no skin in the game, you can go on the website and click the link for the block experience, and you can upload your videos, and one of our coaches will break down the videos and do a quick Zoom call with you and kind of walk through your form stuff. And we don't ask anything in return. We want people to see what it's like to be a client. And then we moved about 6 months ago now to every single person that signs up for Barbell Logic, their first month is 100% free. There's no like, what's the catch? There isn't a catch. We just know, again, when your churn is that low and people stay because your service is great, then why not play the drug dealer method and give them a little taste of that crack rock and they'll stay. So that's what we do. So you can always test it out for the first month, give us a test drive, and we'd love that. But the best place to start is just check out the content and see what you think. And if it speaks to you, then it's a great fit.
Yeah, they're coming up on episode 200. That's coming up here pretty soon.
On our podcast?
Yeah.
No, I'm at 400. Almost 400.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Wow.
So you probably saw, so we number them different if they're part of the series versus part of like the individual episodes. So,
okay.
But yeah, I think I've done, I may have crossed 400 now. So it's a bunch of podcasts. And I think we've got about 150 YouTube videos. YouTube videos are super high quality, high production. We pay like guys that work in Hollywood and TV studios to do the videography and the post-production stuff. And they're short, really easily digestible videos. Some of them, we have a whole series called Gym Shorts, or like 45 seconds long, how to do the lifts. And our long form videos are between 5 and 7 minutes. So they're real short. We know people have short attention spans. We want to get out as much information as we can in a short period of time. So that's a great place to start.
Love it. Well, Matt, I want to say thank you again so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing your knowledge with us. It's been awesome.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.